Let's call the June 11th board meeting to order. We're not going to have any welcome everybody, and I guess we're not having celebrations. And we won't have any comments from patrons because we're Zooming. Babby, let the minutes show that we have an established quorum of all 5 of us are here. Thank you very much. And first item will be to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 14th.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you. We'll jump to reports, and Mr. Wiggins is first.
Okay, I have several things to catch you up on. First off, we closed on our land on Sherry Whitlock last week. And so the 7 acres on Sherry Whitlock between Sherry Whitlock and high school property is now ours. So that's all good to go. And we have school choice update. This is the month that we get school choice requests back before the end of May. And so we had 2 transfers in by school choice from Decatur, one kindergarten, one 11th grader. And we had 3 out to Springdale. That's 1 kindergartner, 1 10th grader, and 1 11th grader to Springdale. That's our school choice report for this year. And I want to update you on graduation and honors luncheon. The chamber is still planning on having the honors luncheon on July the 9th at John Brown University. And John Brown is on board, and they are going to socially distance and meet all the requirements of a large indoor venue for that event. So we will be sending out more information to you all soon. And then graduation, July the 17th is still our date. It is still tentative. We have further guidance on what graduation can look like in person. And so I want to run through some options with you all just to give you an idea. And then we may get back together at some point to make a decision what it's going to look like for us. We just in the last 2 days, we've gotten guidance on what graduation can be. It's the large outdoor venue regulations, which until yesterday was 1/3 capacity. And we have to socially distance 6 feet between everybody. And we have to wear masks. Yesterday, when we went to phase 2 by the governor's proclamation, the outdoor venue, instead of 33%, now it's 2/3 or 66% capacity. But that really doesn't change the social distancing, and that's our limiting factor in the stadium or in the arena. And so we have gone through their guidance on what might be possible. And for us to have that in-person graduation on July 17th at this time, depending on how many graduates we actually see that are planning on attending the event, we see each graduate getting either 2 or 3 tickets for guests at the event. And our students will be spaced out 6 feet apart on the field. We would have a stage on one end of the field, and we would put all the parents in the bleachers. And if they come in 2s or 3s, they would be sitting together as a family unit and then 6 feet apart from the next one. We would skip each every other bleacher row per the guidance. So we think that we can get about 700 people in there, and that is about 2 tickets. If we have fewer graduates that actually determine that they're going to attend the graduation, then we might could get to 3 tickets apiece. So that is one option. That is the in-person option. Got a couple of other ideas that we're toying with. One of them would be a completely virtual graduation, which a lot of other districts have done at this point. And that would be a program kind of like our scholarship night, pre-recorded messages and a picture of every graduate. as we run through the roll, and we would put a specific time and everybody could watch it. So that's option 2, completely virtual. And then another option that we have discussed is bringing just the graduates into the arena, spacing them out, and have graduation with just the graduates in person and live streaming. We would live stream any of the events, actually, even if it's in the stadium. But if we did just the graduates inside, since it is the middle of summer, and handed out diplomas to our graduates in the arena and live streamed it for all parents at their houses. Those are the 3 options that we've kind of talked about internally, and I wanted to present those to you. The challenge with the outdoor with people is enforcing the guidance as it's been given to us. The things that we are supposed to do and assure the Department of Education, we have to turn in a plan for how it's going to look and what we're going to do and how we're going to enforce it. The challenge for us would be enforcing that with parents, adults, coming into our stadium under those strict guidelines. And graduations tend to encourage people to hug and shake hands and congratulate one another and mingle. So that challenge becomes a little bit bigger with a graduation. But I'm throwing those 3 things out to you all just to think about and get feedback if you want to get feedback. And I have a feeling we may need to have another board meeting between this board meeting and the July board meeting, just for hiring purposes, because we're in the middle of big hiring season. And we may have this as an action item at that time to determine which direction we're going to go. So anyway, I would be happy to answer any questions about any of those 3 options if you want to discuss that at all right now.
Do we know what districts around the area are doing?
I know several of the smaller districts are planning on having in-person graduations in their stadium. It will look very similar to ours, the way I described it. They may or may not be able to get additional tickets because of the size of their class. If they have much smaller numbers than we do, they can add additional tickets for each student. The bigger districts are toying with similar issues that we are, and they are considering multiple graduation ceremonies over the course of a whole day or multiple days because they have so many graduates. My personal feeling is it's going to be warm, I anticipate, on July 17th or July 18th, and I would hate to think that we would go through multiple graduation ceremonies that day and have us out there on the turf field that's it's usually 10 degrees hotter on that field than air temperature. So I'm hoping if we go in person that we do a one event and limit attendance and celebrate our graduates with their parents and send them on. If we choose one of the other options, we can do the virtual graduation in-house with our own production company. If we do the students only in the arena, again, we can produce that virtually and send it out to all of our patrons live streamed. So the big I talked to Fayetteville, Springdale, and Bentonville today. None of them have firm plans because this is so fresh, and they are all just like we are. They're investigating their options.
Have we inquired of the students or parents? Probably not, since it's so new.
Right. We have not at this point. One thing that we are planning on doing with our high school, we have diplomas ready. We have thought that we may offer diplomas for those who want to come and pick them up, or tell them that they're available and ask them to come and pick them up. And when they come and pick them up, ask them if they plan to attend an in-person graduation if we have it on July the 17th, so that we can get a little bit firmer numbers. Like I said, if we're at 300 or more, we think we're able to give 2 tickets a kid. If we're down around the 275, 280 range that actually want to participate, we think we can do 3 tickets per child. Now, that's not a great improvement, but it's something. I was told by one of our employees that that would be a throwback to when he graduated from Salem Springs High School, and he got 2 tickets for his graduation in the. Any other questions or discussion around that issue?
I'm good.
Okay, I'll let you guys nail that and take feedback if you want to, and then hopefully we can have another board meeting here in a couple of weeks for hiring purposes and discuss this again and have a fairly firm plan after that.
Hold on, Jody. Do you have a target date for the special board meeting?
Hold on just a second. I am hoping for possibly the week of the 22nd through the 26th, so that we don't get into that week of 4th of July. We'll have board meeting dates later in the agenda for next year, which July is in next year. And we're going to have to move that July board meeting to the 14th so that we get year-end financials done in time for the July board meeting. So that would put us a couple of weeks out from here if it's the 22nd through the 26th that week. And then it would put us a couple of 3 weeks before that July board meeting. And I am open to dates on that. So maybe we'll get with you all later to see if we can work out the best date for you all. We are still trying to plan for next year based on whatever guidance we can get. The Department of Education did have a webinar last week and provided some guidance. It's more of a planning document than a guidance document. It basically suggests what we need to plan for. We have asked some very specific questions about what school's going to look like and have not got those answered as far as face masks and social distancing and the use of buses and the use of cafeterias. But I anticipate that we will have recommendations on all of those issues rather than requirements at some point. I am part of that task force, as we talked about the last board meeting, that's trying to give some feedback. And it appears as though when guidance does come out, it will come out in the form of recommendations rather than requirements, so that local school districts have the ability to apply them in the most reasonable manner for their own situations. And I'm trying to pick my words there, but for example, with social distancing, we have some classrooms that if we had to keep all of our kids 6 feet apart, we could only get 16 kids in the classroom just because of the size of the classroom. So if they come out with a requirement that we have to keep them 6 feet apart, then that greatly limits our ability to have class. But at the recommendation, we can do the best that we can with what we have and go from there. The initial guidance that we had on buses was that all students would have to wear face masks on the bus because they couldn't socially distance. We have given feedback that it is very hard for us to expect a 5-year-old kindergartner to get on the bus with a face mask on and keep it on for 45 minutes while they're riding to school, with the only adult supervision being the bus driver who is watching the road. And so that has changed in the most recent guidance to being a recommendation rather than a requirement. And I anticipate that most of the information we get from now on will come out as recommendations. So I will keep you all up to date the more information we get on what it's going to look like when we come back to school. But that specific information is not quite out there yet. I think the Department of Health considers 10 weeks out, which is about what we are from the start of school. They consider that a very, very long time because things can change very quickly. And I understand that to a school system, 10 weeks is not long. And so if we have to change things it takes some time and planning. And so there's a rub there with the timeline, I think, from them and from us. Okay, that is my upbeat update on everything. I'm sorry that was depressing. I'm going to say that I'm finished with my report.
All right. Thank you. Any more questions from Jody? Or for Jody, not from Jody. All right. Do we have Amy with us tonight?
Yes?
Yes, sir, I'm here. So tonight I want to talk about the virtual school, our virtual academy, as we've tentatively named that piece. So we have started this process, and Mr. Wiggins and some others probably started this discussion even a year ago. And then back in the fall, we had some discussion about the potential of a virtual academy and how that could potentially help us maybe pull back in some of the homeschool children that are in our area. We have a high population of homeschool, and so we thought if that was an opportunity or one of the options, that maybe some of our students that are homeschooled could come back. We also had the discussion that there are numerous charters and virtual academies that have kind of popped up in our region and even all over the state. And we're also not losing a large number, but losing some children to those options as well. So we had started this conversation well before COVID and Corona started. But since that time, because of this issue and our last 11 weeks of getting our parents, students, and teachers acclimated to this working from home remote learning process, we have sped up our thought about offering Asylum Springs Virtual Academy. So we pulled together, knowing all of that, and that we needed to speed up our plan. We created a team of about 9. We had administrators, some of our instructional coaches, a few of us in the district office. We participated kind of in a virtual research committee. And so we started calling other virtual academies, calling local ones, even across the state, trying to figure out what are they doing, how did they do it, how was their plan. Then we started researching third-party providers that would be able to offer us curriculum and materials that would align with Arkansas standards and that we could have Arkansas certified teachers. That was one of our big pieces that we wanted as a district, that if we were going to offer a virtual academy for any and all, as many classes as possible, courses, that we wanted them to be Arkansas certified. So through all of that, the committee started with 8 to 10 companies and products, narrowed it down, and so now we're kind of in the final piece of narrowed it down to 1 to 2 companies. We have been communicating with them, trying to negotiate pricing depending on numbers of students that we could have enroll eventually in our virtual academy. And so we're sort of in that negotiation piece. And so that's why we're really not like naming those companies and making those public necessarily, because we want to wait until we can select the right one for Asylum Springs. So from all of that, Mr. Wiggins has communicated. We've sent out several surveys, sent out surveys to teachers. We've sent out surveys to parents about interest, about yes, they would, or they're undecided, or absolutely no, I don't want any part of that. So we've talked through some of those, analyzed that piece. And then Mr. Wiggins has updated and uploaded several notes or letters to parents, and I'm sure you've seen those on our website. And now we started meetings for parents. And so we had face-to-face following our guidelines and restrictions. And we've hosted 5 meetings this week, 4 of which, I think 4, have been face-to-face and 1 Zoom. We still have 1 Zoom meeting tomorrow that Mr. Wiggins will host from 11:30 to 12:30. And so we've had quite a few parents show up, especially on the Zooms. Those are popular, believe it or not, just like we are with our board meeting. Anywhere from 30 to 38 families are represented. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 people sitting at the camera. So we've been hosting those. Like I said, we'll finish the last one tomorrow. I believe in your board packet, you received a Siloam Springs Virtual Academy program guide. That is a draft version. It is also listed on our district website so that parents can look at that. We've been trying to keep it updated as we've talked with parents and hosted our meetings. We have taken the questions from each meeting and added them to our frequently asked question portion of the program guide. And then we also made that an independent piece on the website. So just in case a parent didn't want to have to scroll through the whole program guide, they could just go directly to the frequently asked questions. And I believe now we're up to about 44 questions on our frequently asked guide. And so some of them occasionally seem to be a little redundant, asked over and over, but we really want them to be available to parents so that as they're reading through there, they can see it and hear it more than one time. So hopefully, if you had time, you were able to look through some of those documents. And then our last kind of important big piece is that tomorrow, after Mr. Wiggins finishes the 11:30 to 12:30 Zoom, at some point after that, 1 o'clock or after, we will post on social media and the website the intent to enroll form. And that will be a live form where parents can enroll one student, or if they have 4 children, they can enroll all 4 children on one link. And so that will be up from tomorrow, as soon as it posts, until Friday, July 3rd. And at that point, we will kind of cut off enrollment, and we've set that limit at 150 students. And we kind of come to that, I guess, solid number through logistics and finance, because we need to think through that. Using a third-party provider is going to be a financial aspect of what we're doing and what we're offering. And so we wanted to make sure we were good stewards of the money. And so we've capped it at 150. We may or may not get to that 150 number. It will be a first come, first serve. As they enroll, it's automatically time stamped. So we will know date and time that they enroll, and that will help us. Since we are doing first come, first serve, that document will help keep us on track. If we happen to go over 150, then we will just create a waiting list. And by August 13th, if parents or students decide that's not what they want, then they could unenroll and we could take someone from the waiting list. So that's kind of our plan at what we have been doing, what we're currently doing, and then we're going to kind of be in that wait and see phase of how many people actually enroll starting tomorrow. So that was a long spiel, but if you've had a chance to look at documents or just from me speaking, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try and answer them. And if I don't have an answer, someone else on the screen might.
And can we use the phone system where you send out like absentees, or if your student's absent, we get a phone call, the parents do, to notify of the dates and things going on? I know a lot of people I talk to, they're not, I guess, on the website as much and getting the notifications as much.
Okay. Yes, I think that would be something we could schedule. Tomorrow, when that is made live, we could make a phone call, and I won't be here tomorrow, but I think we can schedule that between Shane and Kelly and Jody. We can get somebody to make sure that that happens. That's a good idea, actually. We've not used the phone system in this piece of communication lately.
Grant, one issue with using it, if we call all 4,300 students, this was intended to be for a very small number of students to begin with. It was a very specific audience we were shooting for. That audience I think has expanded a little bit with our last 12 weeks of school. But we can't afford to go above that 150. And we wanted to make sure that the people who were signing up have actually gone through a question and answer session with us. And so we put 6 of them this week. We put it out on Facebook and Instagram. So every parent that has followed us on Facebook or Instagram has been notified. I know the homeschool students in our district have been notified as well. I have hesitation in sending something to all 4,300 in that the initial survey we put out, we had close to 100 students that said they were either interested or undecided. And that was we did that the exact same way with Facebook, Instagram, and the website. That was a bigger number than I was wanting to have. So I didn't want to put it out to 4,300. I was afraid that because all the information wasn't out there about what it was and what it wasn't, I was afraid we'd have an overwhelming response just because of current situations. And this is a 100% virtual academy, so they're not going to have interaction with our teachers at all, very, very seldom. And I think it takes a pretty specific kid to be successful in that. We were targeting homeschool students. We were targeting some students who have already left us over the last few years to go to the Arkansas Virtual Academy or the Arkansas Virtual High School or Arkansas Connections Academy, which are very similar setups. And then some of our parents who are really worried about current situation. So that's why we haven't done that at this point. And I think that it can be expanded as we go. We originally were actually planning on waiting a year to do this, but current situation we decided to speed it up. But I think this year needs to be kind of a mini version to see how we do it and see how we progress in it.
That makes sense. It's between 2 parents and one was aware of it and one wasn't, but I understand keeping those numbers at a lower level.
So you see this kind of as a pilot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that probably answers a question that I had about, I noticed that they either 100% have to be part of the virtual academy or 100% part of the district, and it's a face-to-face. But yet it sounded like that if they needed services like GT services, that they could come for that. They can come for athletics, but I was wondering about things like AP. They can't come for that. Is that true?
Well, those are offered through the providers that we're looking to use at this point in time. The AP services are offered through their virtual platform. So
Okay.
They would not have to come on site for that. That's why we were looking more at those AAA activities like the band, choir, athletics, even our CTE programs, having a way that those high school students, middle school, high school could utilize some of those pieces.
So they still could access things like the CAS program.
CAS would be an extreme because it's half of a day for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
Our challenge with this is the providers we're looking at charge us for a full seat, full price, no matter if they take 1 class or 8 classes. So that's where the 100% one way or the other has come from at this time. And again, this first year, you said the word pilot. I do see this as kind of a pilot year to see how we get through this. And we're wading into this with the providers providing the teachers as well. At some point, if there's enough interest, I think at some point we shift this and it becomes our own program and we have more flexibility with it. But for this first year, the financial part kind of ties us into basically being full-time one or the other.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do we have something from Mr. Patrick?
Yes, sir. With Act 1029, commonly known as the Bullying Act, that went into effect this last year, it requires that we give a district-wide bullying report to the school board once a year. And I have that report prepared in your packets, and I will go over that report quickly. At each building, we have it broken down by each time that there are alleged instances of bullying, and then the ones that are founded and confirmed. And so I want to, before I get started with this, I want to say a big thank you to our administrators in the district. This is something new that they've not had to track before. And they really latched on and did a good job, and were able to track this, and they do a really good job of handling these kinds of situations. So at Northside, we had 3 instances that were alleged and 0 were confirmed. At Allen, we had 2 alleged instances and 0 were confirmed. Southside had 4 alleged instances, 0 were confirmed. Intermediate school had 23 alleged incidences, 12 were confirmed. Middle school had 19 incidences alleged and only 11 confirmed. High school had 26 alleged instances and 13 were confirmed. Main Street Academy had 18 alleged instances, but only 2 of those were confirmed. Also broken down by what the disciplinary actions were. And these are, I'm going to go ahead and give you the district-wide numbers so that you'll know. Overall, we had 9 that were of these confirmed instances that received a verbal warning. The administrator did not feel like it had reached the level to do more than that. 5 received detention. There were 12 that received in-school suspension, and then 12 that received out-of-school suspension. And there were no expulsions. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you have the information on if any was repeat offenders?
There were no repeat offenders. Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have.
It, all right. All right, thank you guys. That concludes our reports. So now we'll move to action items. And the first item will be to approve the May financials.
Hey,
Terry, there you go.
yep, I'm here. May marks us being 92% of the way through our school year. Things start picking up in the finance department in June. It sounds crazy, but while everybody else winds down, we get wound up. So we have collected 96% of our projected income for the year, revenue for a year, which is amazing. And we've only spent 79% of our projected expenditures. As far as our local revenue, we've collected 98%. So you can't ask for much better than that. I mean, you can get 100%, and I've seen what we're receiving in June, and it exceeds my expectations. Let's just put it that way. So doing really well with collecting our local revenue. This time last year, comparing revenue from this year to last year, we're up about $400,000 from where we were this time last year, which is pretty amazing, I think. Looking at salaries and benefit expenses for the month of May, it was 87% of our total expenditures for the month. That number will become much higher in the month of June, as we have 2 complete pay runs in June and a little small one at the end of June for paying out sick days and just various and sundry things like that. That's really all I have to report right now. Pretty excited about closing on the Elrod property. We have received our money from the Siloam Springs Education Foundation for, our monthly, our yearly pledges. So those are already in and deposited. So that's really all I've got. Do you have any questions?
Not from me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I move that we,
Motion to approve the,
go ahead, Audra.
motion to approve the financials.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Now we need to approve a bid for building and content insurance.
Every year, we put out to bid for our building and content insurance. We get very little response back. No one wants to bid on building and content. They just don't. And Alliant is the only one that came back again this year with a bid. And it came in considerably higher than what we paid for insurance last year. It's up almost $41,000, which is a little hard to take, but Moss Insurance Company does a really good job with explaining, and they got some reports from Alliant, and because they look over the last 2 or 3 years to decide what the trend is, they reported that they're just still continuing to see catastrophic losses from the last 2 or 3 years. I highlighted some things in the report. If they're natural disasters is what they're still reeling from and haven't been able to recover. It says hailstorms in the South and Midwest, water damage, California wildfires, and etc. are all adversely affecting the property market. The result appears to be significant rate and deductible increases, as well as a tightening of terms and conditions. So it's just a trend that we're not going to be able to escape for quite a while. So I would like to recommend that we accept the property bid from Alliant Insurance for our building and content.
I move that we accept the bid from Alliant.
Two quick questions.
Right.
You say that was the only bid that was presented?
Yes.
Okay. And did you happen to put a percentage to the increase?
No, I did not, but I can real quick.
Yeah.
That's approximately 20%, Brian.
Thanks,
About
Joe.
20? Well, that's in line with some of the stuff I've been seeing. So, okay. All right. Any other questions? Nope. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I think it needs to be noted that we appreciate our local insurance company working with us and going to bat for us and helping us out on this. Thanks, Moss Agency. All right, next we'll approve a bid for the seal and restriping of high school parking lot.
Mr. Lamb, I'm going to request that we table that action item until our next board meeting. I have some questions about the bid that I need
All
to
right.
resolve.
Do we need a motion to table that? Or do we just table it?
That's a great question. Let's take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor of tabling the bid and seal or bid for seal and restriping of the parking lot? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Student drug testing.
This is Mr. Lamb, and Coach Harriman and myself and our coaching staff have been working for the last several months at the direction of Mr. Wiggins to come up with a proposed Salt Springs School District drug testing policy for students who are in AAA sanctioned activities. We have given you a draft of that plan in your packets and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time. What we're asking for is your input and your approval so that next month's board meeting, we will come back with an actual school board policy for you guys to approve or not approve.
Any reaction from coaches, teachers, staff?
They were all for it. They did not have a problem with it. They wanted, matter of fact, we had 0 coaches that didn't feel like it was something that we should do. They were confident in the fact that this would help discourage, well, not just discourage, but also give kids an easy out of why they wouldn't have to do drugs. Because, hey, if I get drug tested, then I can't play in the band or football or choir or whatever that might be. So I've heard no negative feedback at this point.
I would like to say that I like the positive tone of the policy, that it is to help students, that it is not punitive. Obviously, there's consequences, but it is not, the intent is not punitive, the intent is helpful. And I think that that is important.
We have also, just so you're aware, we have had our school attorney look at this to make sure that we're not doing something that would break some kind of law or policy, federal law or state law or policy that would get us in trouble, and to make sure the language is correct. And he gave us some changes that we've made, and then we could always make some more at your best.
I would like to say that Shane and Mr. Patrick, Coach Harriman, several of our coaches and principals have had a lot of input on this, and we've had multiple revisions. And I appreciate what Connie said in that it is positive. That was one of the goals, was that it's a positive policy, something that is encouraging rather than punitive. And I think it's a good policy, and I want to clear up, we're bringing it back as a group of one of a group of policies next month. We're asking for your approval of the policy tonight. There is we have noticed some grammar, some language that might need to be adjusted slightly before next month when it's approved as in the group of policies, but we are asking for your approval tonight for this to be ended next year.
Has there been any concern from parents? Are they aware of this proposed policy?
There was a small group of parents that it was kind of discussed, the general idea, not the details. This has not been shown out publicly to parents, but just a small group. And so far, we've not had any negative issues to this point by anybody. The impetus for writing the policy and proposing it actually came from concerned parents in our community. We have heard over the last 2 to 3 years, maybe even longer than that, some feedback that parents wish that we would do something of this nature in the schools. So that's actually what started this conversation.
Thank you.
So we need a motion?
Yes, sir.
So we're not actually approving the policy, we're approving to go ahead with submitting this policy next month?
We can approve the policy. It is a policy. It's written as a policy. We can approve the policy. I do know the language that we're going to clean up, And so we can reapprove it next month and it'll take care of that. The 2 or 3 things, it doesn't, nothing of it, none of it is material to the policy itself. It's language that needs to be revised or typos.
Motion to approve the proposal for student drug testing.
Second.
Who got the second?
It doesn't matter.
One or both? Okay.
It's fine.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Student accident insurance bid for 2021.
Hey, I'm going to take this one. Coach Harriman, our athletic director, usually does this for us, and Coach Harriman put it out for bid for next year. Had several companies reply, and the company that we had actually purchased the special risk insurance this past year from for student accidents was Health Risk Insurance Company. And they submitted the same price as they did this past year, $9,500, and that was the low bid. We had good service from them, and I believe actually after Coach Harriman submitted this to me, he let us know that they were actually returning some of our premium from this past year because of the fact that we didn't have school the last 9 weeks and didn't have athletics. So I think we've had good service from them. They've been good to work with, and so I would recommend that we continue with Health Risk Insurance Company through the not insurance agent. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not right. Health Risk Insurance Company is the one that we are proposing. So I propose that we stay with them.
Move
So
for,
Mhm.
How about a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we need some additional compensation for teachers serving more than 150 students.
Okay, you have 3 teachers listed in the agenda, and you have the form 3.69F from our policies for each one. The teachers are David Moose, Sabrina Rivas, and Russell Johnson. And this policy basically says that if a teacher has more than 150 students that they're responsible for, and in most normal classes, that we have to pay them a prorated rate for every student above that 150. And so these 3 teachers fall into that category. In the second semester, they all had more than 150. And so the rates are in there, and the amount is for each of those 3 teachers are on the forms that you have in your packet. I would recommend that we pay these teachers as required by law.
So moved.
second.
All righty, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ASBA resolution.
Okay. With all that's happened in the last 3 months, with our governor declaring a state of emergency, the State Board of Education has been allowed to waive some laws and rules for school districts as they cope with the pandemic. So going into next year, we had emergency waivers in the spring for the last 11 weeks of school. And then going into next year, we are going to have an opportunity as a district to apply for waivers of specific laws and rules that we may need to get around in serving our students under the current situation. I can give you some examples of that in a minute. One thing that was brought up, we can apply for those waivers. The state board can grant those waivers under the emergency order. But if we have local policies, which we do, local school board policies that are based on those laws that we are asking to be waived, the policies are still in effect unless we do something about the policies. And so this resolution is a resolution to waive some of our policies that back up those laws and rules that we were asking to be waived at the state level. So that we don't get in trouble with our own personnel policies after we've gotten around the law. So an example, we have been told, not for sure, but we have been told that we may have to stagger start times, stagger end times. We may have to have lunch in the classroom rather than in the cafeteria to avoid large groups. None of those things are for sure, so we don't know exactly what that looks like. But as an example, if we have to have lunch in our classrooms, that means our teachers have to stay in the classroom with a group of kids to eat lunch. We have a law that our teachers have to have a duty-free lunch for 30 minutes each day. That would not be possible if we were to feed our kids in our classroom. So we can ask for the law to be waived, but the personnel policy would still be in place. This resolution goes to say that if we have policies in place that back up those laws that we are asking for waivers for, that we are also going to be able to waive those policies for the time being, if that makes sense. This was written by the School Board Association, which we pay a fee each year to write our policies. And so they've written all those policies that we're going to waive through this resolution. And they saw this as a need for school districts and for school boards to approve this resolution to give us some leeway in doing what we need to do to serve our kids under the pandemic and under the emergency declaration. Also ran it through our local attorney, our school district attorney, to make sure he didn't have any problem. And David said he was good with it and thought that it was a good idea. So I am asking you all to approve this resolution. I will answer questions if you have any.
Motion to adopt the ASBA resolution.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. That brings us to executive session for purpose of resignations and hiring. Call ourselves back into open session.
Janelle with
And-
us?
Janelle is with us, I think.
I can't see her, so,
I see her.
okay, good.
I see her,
Wow.
but there she is.
There she is. She's
All right, we ready to go?
Jody,
Yeah,
you're
Jo-
Jody, you're muted.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll call ourselves back into open session. I think I'm not muted, am I?
nope, you're
Nope.
good.
Okay.
Didn't hear
good. All right. First item, or next item will be to approve the school board meeting dates for 2021 school year.
Okay, so Bambi has put a list of dates for each month in 2021 in your board packet. And it is this, they're all the second Thursday, just like we have been doing at 5:30 p.m., except for July and February. July, we moved it to the following Tuesday, July 14th, so that Terry would have time to do financial closeouts for the year and get ready for the first month of the year. And then in February, our board meeting in February, the last couple of years, has fallen on a parent-teacher conference night. And it has been an issue in a couple of ways with parking at the building we normally meet in. And with, we have a bunch of principals who can't attend the board meeting that night. So we have moved the February date to the Tuesday, February the 9th. And I think the 11th would have been the normal date. So we moved it 2 days earlier. So those are the only changes. All of the rest of them were on the second Thursday. There is a possibility, depending on graduation next year, that the May 13th we might need to move because that might end up being scholarship night if we do it the way we have always done it. But we didn't want to make that change quite yet.
I move that we accept the proposed school board meeting dates.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approved 6 full-time FTEs.
And these are possible FTEs. You all approved an application for alternative learning environment for elementary a couple of months ago. And the proposal would have had 1 certified teacher for ALE or kindergarten through 4th grades, 1 classroom to serve all of those ALE students, and then 1 certified teacher to serve 5th through the 8th grade. I've not gotten approval of that application yet. We've submitted it and are told that they are still being reviewed, so we do not know the status of that. If it does become approved, we would like to do that still, so we are asking for you to approve tentatively those 2 FTEs for ALE for the elementary grades. And then our virtual academy, if things go the way we are thinking they're going to go, we will need a couple of personnel to manage the virtual academy from our side and to check in on kids, make sure they're on track, and to provide some local in-person tutoring for our virtual academy students. So those are 2 tentative spots as well. And then the last 2 are ill-defined. We always try to approve a spot or 2 just in case we get into August and need something. We have no idea what our numbers will look like come August because we haven't seen our kids in 3 months. So there's some what ifs there. So I would ask that you approve these 6 potential full-time FTEs. That's 5 certified and 1 classified for the coming year in case we need them.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we need to accept some resignations. A number of
Yes, sir.
resignations.
We have several. So I'm going to read through the list here. Victoria Groomer has been the assistant principal at Allen, and she is leaving us, going to Gentry to become principal. I have a resignation from Jolie Sotelero, intermediate 6th grade language arts. Alexanne Laws, intermediate 6th grade English language arts. Shelby Ellison, intermediate 5th grade math. Jana Lane, intermediate school music. Helen Razanka, intermediate special education. Tony Reno, intermediate 6th grade math. Sean Lane, high school assistant band director. Katie Oakes, high school business teacher. Spencer Hulse, high school math teacher. Michelle Slayton, Northside kindergarten music teacher. Carla Thielemeyer, middle school reading interventionist. And Alyssa Drager, middle school 7th grade math. I would ask that you approve these resignations.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, now let's hire some replacements.
So June is a big hiring month for us normally. We have 17 on the list. Your initial list was 6, and we've had a bunch just in the last few days. So 17 total. I will read through these. Amanda Dalton, high school counselor. Taylor Catranillo, high school assistant band director. Brady Blackwell, high school business teacher. Alexandra Vasily, middle school 8th grade science. Rebecca Percy, intermediate school 5th grade language arts. Caitlin Delaney, middle school special ed. Pamela Derwin, intermediate school special education. Sarah Henley, intermediate school 5th grade math. And then these next ones are in the supplement. Kaylee Robertson, Northside kindergarten teacher. Elizabeth Mitchell, Northside kindergarten teacher. Angela Hartwig, Northside kindergarten music. Samantha Thompson, middle school 7th grade math. Gina Bell, middle school reading interventionist. Erin Meyer, middle school science, high school assistant football coach. Hannah Bowen, middle school, English as a second language. Jordan Ladyman, intermediate school music. Susan Bradley, intermediate school 6th grade, all subjects. Kyle Ritchie, high school math. Deborah Funderburg, Southside and middle school special ed. So 17 new licensed staff that I would recommend that we approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that brings us to other business. Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong one. And no sick leaves, right?
There are no sick leave requests.
And- Okay, and no transfers in. There's a transfer out.
We do have a transfer out. Carmen Wilkinson, 15 years old, going to Gentry. I recommend we approve that transfer out.
So moved.
Second.
There's a second. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Now that brings us to other business.
Okay, I have a couple of things in other business. One issue we had when we had to go send all of our teachers and students home this spring and try to continue teaching in a digital format. We had several of our staff members who had issues teaching from home because of technology. It was brought to our attention that some of our teachers have laptops with docking stations in their classroom. They can unplug those laptops and take them home and teach from the laptop just like they were at school. All of our teachers did not have that capability. So we have received federal funding in the CARES Act to cover the cost of help cover the costs of some of the expenses incurred due to the COVID-19 crisis. We decided that one good use of that money would be to provide all of our teachers laptops so that in the fall, if we get into this same situation, they can unplug at school, take their laptop at home, and have their office with them. So we have priced out what it would cost to outfit all of our teachers with laptops so that they can do this. And we have 3 bids for doing that, with a low bid of $280,571.85 from CDWG. That would use a little bit less than half of the CARES money, 45% of the CARES money that we're going to receive. And I would recommend that we do this to provide our teachers with that technology.
What's the number? Not the dollar amount, but the actual number of laptops. Do you have that?
That is a good question. Shane, do you have that number? I know we have around 350 teachers. Our high school teachers already had laptops. We have about 85 at the high school, so that would leave around 265 with some of our office personnel to have that capability of working from home as well. So I'm going to guess we're around 300.
That bid is for 270.
Oh,
total.
Okay.
Pretty close, Mr. Wiggins.
Thank you.
So you need a motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we got it.
I think this is a great way to spend one-time money, because I know that this doesn't, carry over, but to support this type of work in the future, I think this is a necessity. So.
I agree 100%. Yes. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, order the laptops. What else?
Summer hire list. We will do this just about every time we meet during the summer because additional names get added. And this summer is special because of transportation and food service and what we're trying to do to feed our kids. we have had to expand our list of people to ride buses and make meals and drive. So that's why you're getting a revised list this time. And I would request that you approve the summer hire list as submitted to you.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All righty.
And while we are on that subject of our cafeteria staff and our transportation staff, they're doing an outstanding job. We are feeding roughly about 4,000 meals a day across our district, driving routes, all of our routes currently to serve students. This is not normal. This is not something our drivers and our food service personnel do in a normal summer. And I think we're wearing them out. We are struggling at times to fill all of the needs as far as personnel to keep this going. So I'm just giving you a heads up as a board. There is a possibility that we may go in July. There's a possibility we may go to a normal summer feeding program, which is a little bit more scaled back than what we're doing. We will determine that as we move forward the rest of this month to see if we can maintain what we are doing or if we need to scale back a little bit. But I appreciate all the hours and the effort that's being put in to serve our students right now, our transportation staff and our food service staff. That's just an FYI. We've got a few things, Mr. Lamb, to just notify you all of.
Okay.
Quite a few. You know, the things that we don't have to approve are transfers inside. So I've got several of those to announce to you. I've got Jason Tufts, middle school 8th grade science, moving to 7th grade science. Kelly Sumter was middle school special ed. She is going to intermediate school 6th grade language arts. Melissa Cluck going from middle school 7th and 8th grade ESL to 6th grade language arts. Caleb Schultz is going from Southside science to intermediate science. Mark Cook is going from Northside kindergarten teacher to Southside 4th grade science. Rusty Perkins is going from intermediate 6th grade, all subjects, to just teaching math. Natalie Hutto is going from Southside instructional coach to become the Allen assistant principal with Miss Payton. Rachel Hart is going from Southside special ed to middle school special ed. Aubrey Bowen is going from intermediate special ed to middle school special ed. So that's our certified transfers. Now, a lot of those were choices. We had an opening come up and somebody wanted to do something different. And then some of them were not required, were instigated because of student movement. So some of those special ed moves, we have some specific students that are changing buildings that need specific accommodations that only certain teachers are better at than others. So some of those moves are necessitated by student moves. I've got some classified hires and resignations to announce. Classified hires: Taylor Chapman, registered nurse at Allen; Brittany Mullen, Northside Pre-K Para; Lisa Hendrickson, Northside Special Ed Para; Audrey Matthey, kindergarten classroom aide; Renee Bordovsky, Southside STEM Para. Those are classified hires for next year. And then classified resignations: Samantha Holland, Allen Special Ed Para; Sharma Nash, Transportation; Maria Taylor, ESOL Para; Teresa Johnson, Food Service; Lori Moore, Intermediate Administrative Assistant; Dindy Saliga, High School Counselor Scholarship Administrative Assistant. Those are resignations. And then we have some transfers in classified as well. We have a vacant para spot from Allen that we're moving to Northside in special ed. We have Rachel Carter, who was a para at Allen, who is moving to Southside. Teresa Keene, who was at Southside as a para, moving to middle school. Michael Penner has been a para at intermediate. He is moving to, I'm sorry, it's Michaela Penner, moving to para at middle school. Carisha Muniz, Northside para, going to Allen. Jessica Thurman, Northside Pre-K Para, going to Allen Library Media Aid. And that is all I have for you this evening.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
A motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right.
Aye.
Hi,
All right. Meeting
Thank you all
adjourned.
very much.
thank
Goodbye.
you.
You.